You are listening to the Beyond Terrestrial podcast, your one-stop shop for the outstanding, the unconventional, and the downright strange. Strap in because the boys are about to take a wild ride. I'm Funk Master B, setting up that tea for the duo of dumb foolery. Your hosts, Dan and Lee.
Of course I believe in aliens. I mean, in an infinitely growing universe, why would we be the only living species? Bigfoot, Nessie, all that stuff, it's gotta be real. How are we to say that we're the only ones? It's just ignorant. I think aliens are not only from other planets, but they're time travelers.
Welcome back, Beyonders. It's nice to have you back. Welcome to Beyond Terrestrial, the place where you can find the strange, the macabre, the conspiratorial, and all things supernatural. My name's Lee Arrett. As always, I'm coming to you from the Haunted Barn Studios in the Bell Witch's backyard, and I'm joined by my friend, my compatriot, my other half, question mark, of this podcast, Dan Martson. Dan, how you doing today?
Very good, Lee. Very, very good. Thank you very much. And we just came through the 1 week of winter we have here in Mississippi. Very, very cold.
Funny enough, I have the same 1 week.
Yeah, we get 1 week. It was pretty solid 1 week. Ice everywhere. Ice. It's very slippery.
Yeah, and the difference between, like, Northerners like to laugh. I was one of them, right? You always, like, think to yourself, as a Northerner, why are so many things shut down? But then we actually got some, like, decent ice, right? And I was like, oh, that's why. Nobody can drive in it, and we don't have the infrastructure to clean it up quick enough to make it at least somewhat safe. So.
Yeah, it's insane, dude. And people, like, raid the grocery stores. And I was like, guys, we could walk to the grocery store. It is less than a mile from my house.
Uh-huh.
Like, if we were that hard up, we could get there. Trust me.
Yes. What I also noticed that was just completely wiped out, our second, possibly in many cases, most accurate form of receiving grain in our diet, the beer aisles. The beer aisles were just completely wiped at my local Walmart, at least.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, beer and
That's
wine
insane,
just
dude.
wiped out. I'm like, guys.
No, it's bread, eggs, and milk all gone.
Yeah. Well, bread, eggs, and milk were gone too,
So.
but beer was also gone. I'm just like, what is going on? Okay. All right. So, yeah.
It took weeks for it to all get back in, but now we are good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some more Mississippi tales to go through.
Yes, Mississippi, the state of missing an ippy. That was terrible. Mike, just take that whole portion out. I'm done.
That was one of the worst jokes you've ever made.
I know.
No, leave it.
Damn it.
We need to give a special thank you to our editors, Simple Equations Media, Las Vegas, Nevada, full service audio video production company. They can take an idea through pre-production. They can help you shoot it, record it, edit it, get it out. They are great guys. So thank you for making us sound good. We appreciate it. Even though these jokes are terrible and probably should be edited out.
You know what, though? Mike does a good job of making them sound like he's almost like the 90s standard laugh track where it just puts in like a pinpoint so people know to laugh and pretend like they're paying attention. So it's great.
Yeah. We need like laugh tracks and maybe like some crickets once in a while.
Yes.
For you, Lee.
Yes. Crickets would be great. Like, I think that like somebody may have had that idea at past episodes. I don't know, but crickets would be great. And shoot, like trombone, right? Like wah wah.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do we got going on today?
Yeah, we better get right to this interview. I sat down with a gentleman named Jared, native Mississippian, was visiting for the holidays home from the military, and he saw something very out of the ordinary, Lee, and I think it is a sighting that really should go down in the books as one of the legitimate question marks. Like, what the hell was it?
It was probably interdimensional Bigfoot. No, really. The video... Dan.
Who knows? Who knows?
I thought I lost you. Like, you were seriously so silent that I thought I lost you. Like, I thought you just dropped out on me. And you're doing it again, aren't you?
Is this thing on?
No, that was me reacting to your joke.
Oh, fair enough. I figured. So, it is a crazy story, and it's a crazy video. We're gonna do links to the Reddit strip, or what is it? The subreddit. We're gonna do links to that so you all can see the video as well. It is an interesting video.
Well, I think we can explain a whole lot more in the interview, Lee. Toss it.
All right, well, why don't we just jump over to the interview? Mike, take it away.
All right, Beyonders. We are always out there looking for interesting stories, and this is, I guess, part of our Mississippi series. I ran across a local UFO sighting, and we're here with the one of the witnesses and videographers, Jared. Nice to meet you, Jared.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Dan.
Now, let's set this up for us a little bit. What brought you to Mississippi? Are you a native or?
I am. I was born and raised, and this actually happened in my my hometown. But now I've been in and out of the military, so right now I'm in North Carolina. So.
Okay, so you were down visiting then?
Yeah, I was home for the holidays.
Really cool, really cool. And now this happened up in the northern part of the state on Highway 4 between Ripley and what's the other town? Boonville. That's right. I almost said Hooverville for some reason, but I knew that was wrong. So Boonville. Okay. And you were heading west, I believe, towards Ripley?
Yeah, heading towards Ripley. We live right in between there. So.
Oh, okay. Really cool. Now, in the video you shared, and it's on Reddit in the UFOs subreddit, so folks can go check that out. It's about 15 seconds, pretty short clip that you took for Snapchat. But what I gathered from your comments is it doesn't really capture the motion of what you saw. So I guess, can you just describe the day, the conditions a little bit, and what you ended up seeing?
Yeah, so it was actually, I'm zoomed in. I've got like a Note 20. That's what it's on, the camera. And I'm zoomed in all the way, and it's so blurry and shaky because I'm driving. I'm like going down the highway, and like one hand on the wheel, recording with the other hand, which is terribly dangerous, and I don't advise that. But
right.
Anyway, we saw it. Me and my mother saw it in the sky, and I just noticed the trail behind it at the time was zigzagging, and I've worked in the air wing for a little while, and I'd never seen anything like that. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, what is that? And my mom's like, she's freaking out. She's a little older. And then we noticed there's like 8. At first it looked like 4, and then more and more jets were like scrambled around this thing in the sky. And we're not super close to any kind of bases or anything. So for there to be that many in the view of the sky right there was kind of weird with it too.
Really? Very interesting. Yeah. So when you had mentioned that it appeared to be escorted, I was like, well, where's the nearest Air Force base? There is not really anything in Mississippi. There is a training wing in Columbus.
There's actually I've actually been to the base in Biloxi. The Keesler Air Force Base is there. It's home of the Storm Chasers, the C-130s that fly into the eyes of hurricanes.
Right.
So,
there you go.
But that is 6 hours
That's down
south
on the coast.
by road.
Yeah.
So
And you wouldn't imagine you would scramble trainers from northern Mississippi. Like, what are you going to do with a training jet?
Yeah, definitely.
And in fact, I was looking at some of the aircraft they fly as trainers. Some of them are, prop planes and stuff like that. They're not full on military aircraft. The advanced stuff. So
yeah, and at one point,
really interesting.
Yeah, at one point, one of the jets actually crossed through the trail of it. So initially, and I don't know how well it'll pick up on camera, but it was the trail behind it was probably from the eye's view, and we're really far out and it's pretty high up in the sky. But from my view, it was probably this long behind the object, and it was zigzagging like this, back and forth, almost like a lightning bolt. But it was like bright red. You can see the kind of fire coming off of it in the video. And I wish I had gotten it then, but I wasn't able to pull my camera out. So,
yeah, no, that's all right. At least you got something. A lot of folks, especially if you peruse these UFO Reddits and stuff like that, they have a lot of stories, but there's not a lot of video all the time. Or there'll be like maybe a still photo, and you can't always get a whole lot about a UFO sighting from a still picture.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting. In the video, I noticed watching it, it appears like that trail that it leaves is very, very wide.
It's very thick.
Which makes a lot of sense the way you're saying it was zigzagging. So that could help create a very wide contrail. I mean, you've said you've worked in an air wing. I can't think of anything that would leave a zigzag contrail like that.
No, I've worked with the V-22s, the Osprey, and then I was in on Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego. So it's a composite. They have helicopters and some jets there as well. So I've been on the flight line when you hear these things taking off and whatnot, and I've seen all the contrails and I've seen a bunch of stuff. I've never seen anything like that.
Yes, very cool. Now, this is something that we've seen lately in a lot of well, maybe I don't know. Maybe we did some stories, or I listened to some stories about the Cash Landrum incident. So maybe it's like a Bader Meinhof sort of thing, where once you hear one story about it, you see more and more stories about military aircraft escorting what appears to be a UFO or some other type of phenomenon. So I mean, in your experience, what does it take for the military to scramble up jets? I would imagine they have this down to a pretty good science, right?
Yeah. There's always
getting a plane ready to take off. Yeah.
It depends on the unit that's nearby, the mission they're doing. Unless there was something on the Gulf Coast that they were on standby for, they wouldn't just have anything sitting there ready unless they were expecting something. So.
Oh yes, that's a very good point. And so you would think to get that number of planes ready to intercept something like this, they would have had to have some foreknowledge of its appearance, maybe via radar or something like that. So yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, it was, not to cut you off, but it was my thinking also that it could have been a military experimental aircraft gone awry, and that's why they were up there. So yeah.
So that would maybe be part of the explanation for its really odd motion. Especially if it was something that was maybe unmanned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes, very interesting. One of my theories has been that a lot of the UFO stuff we're hearing about now with like To the Stars Academy and like the Tic Tac videos and stuff like that could be drones, like highly advanced drones, but we'll see. Who knows?
Could be.
One of the theories early on when in the discussion that you'll see on the UFO subreddit about it, there was a lot of discussion about natural phenomenon because this did kind of produce a fireball almost meteor type look. What do you think about those explanations?
From what I was reading, and again, I'm very much so not an expert on astronomical events, but I feel like anything that size, that low in the atmosphere, you'd have heard about it when it landed, because most of it burns up in the atmosphere, right?
Right. Yeah, or sometimes something like that, if it's flying through the atmosphere, will actually, explode. And there'll be a real explosion there to go along with it, a boom.
Yeah.
Very interesting. See, now, I lived in southern Idaho for a number of years, very close to the Mountain Home Air Force Base. And Idaho has the largest sightings of UFOs per capita, in large part because it's a small state, but there's always some weird stuff going on around there. Mississippi has some very famous UFO stories in its history, most famously down in Pascagoula with an alien abduction story. I mean, Jared, have you ever been into UFOs in Fortiana? Do you have any background in this, or is this the first time you've seen anything close to this?
It'd be the third time that I've seen anything weird.
Okay, cool.
One of them, I was in Nevada on a base, and we were near a base where they were testing things and whatnot, so it was kind of expected.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I don't really know how much I'm willing to really talk about that one.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We are after this interview that we're doing, I'm actually going to do a debate with some other podcasters about Bob Lazar stories.
Yeah.
And all of those are from Nevada test sites, and he's got plenties of video. So, like, we all know they're doing stuff out there. So yeah, whatever they're doing it. It's crazy.
we were like a mountain range away from 51. So it was
really cool.
Yeah, it was like a tertiary base, not really for that kind of thing. And we were gearing up before we went on deployment, and we saw some stuff out there that was like, it wasn't involved with the base we were on. So it was across that mountain range, but we were all just like, that's not how aircraft work. So it was it was some interesting stuff. And then I saw one when I was much younger over the same area. So where me and my mother were driving through, it starts when I start recording the video. We're at the top of a hill crest, and then it goes down into a long straight. And I think in the in one of the, because I have two videos of it, and one of them is much shorter. It's like 8 seconds. But either way, where we're going across, our old house is like, a stone's throw away. We don't live there anymore. We sold the house. But in that same yard, with that same view of the same sky, I saw what seemed to be another experimental aircraft when I was much, much younger, when I was like 13, 14. Me and one of my cousins saw it while we were out playing one night. So, yeah.
Really cool. Now, Jared, this sounds, what's cool about this story, I think, is it's an area you're familiar with, a place where you grew up, and you've seen that sky probably, thousands and thousands of times at sunset, and would notice something weird like this. So this is why we like to get into these local stories, because you just get a little bit more depth of understanding from a local that you wouldn't get from another place. So I really appreciate you coming on. Now, since you've seen this and videoed it and shared it, just what has been the response from, the online community, family, friends? What do they think when they see it?
Family and friends, of course. You lived in Mississippi for a while, right? Or
I've 1 year now. 1 year.
Okay. Well, maybe you're getting the feel for it then, but people are very cautious, I guess would be the word. So all of my family.
Yeah, no, that's very true. No, that's.
Yeah, all of my family, my father, of course, he was able to see it when we got home. The thing is it stayed pretty much the same elevation in the sky. I followed it almost, until we got to our driveway and pulled into where we live at now. and it was still in the sky going strong. Those jets still up there with it. We still saw them for a while, even after we couldn't see the object anymore. So my dad had been out in the yard burning some pile of leaves or something, so he was weirded out by it. And then, of course, my whole family lives in the area there. They were all weirded out by it. They're all, it's the end times and whatnot. As far as the online response, though, it was very lackluster to me. A lot of people just dismissing it as kind of like, oh, and granted, it is a pretty short video. I don't really blame them. And I've been browsing through that. I actually joined that subreddit to post that video. And I've been browsing the subreddit, and now I see why people kind of take it with a grain of salt after everything I've seen on there. So,
yeah, that is very true. There's plenty of fakers out there, so it makes it hard to take in. This is another reason why it's good to enjoy these local stories. Like, we're going to do a Bob Lazar debate. This is one of those big, well-known stories in the UFO community. There's just a lot of fakery around these big stories. But a local story, like, you're not making any money off of this, right?
No.
And, you had the foresight to videotape it and share it, and not, make it into some big secretive thing, with special interview. So I'm very glad we're out here talking about this. This is the way I think these investigations should be done. We should be able to talk about something we saw and then go back into the public records. I mean, I've tried to look up flight trackers and stuff like that. I haven't really seen a whole lot. The way you're facing, looking up towards Ripley, you would think the most air traffic would be a few hundred miles away in Memphis. I mean, how far is it away to Memphis from where you saw that?
By the highway, it's a little over an hour to hour and a half drive from Memphis, but there's also the Tupelo Regional Airport, which is only like 40 minutes away. Not even, probably.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Yeah. I know they have a little airport up there for the triangle there. Very interesting. But I would not. Well, I actually live next to the Jackson Airport. I live pretty close to the Jackson Airport. Surprising amount of traffic.
Yeah.
Especially when it goes over your house all the time.
Yeah, I've flown in and out of the Memphis airport many times. That's where I always, because it's cheaper to fly out of Memphis than Tupelo. So that's where I always come in from.
Yeah, and I mean, Memphis is the FedEx hub, so it gets a ton of traffic. So I could imagine, it wouldn't be uncommon on certain days, given certain atmospheric conditions, to see lots of contrails. But I mean, to see, a dozen planes in the sky at once, would you say that's very common, Jared?
No, not at all. I mean, I've seen probably like 4 to 5 tops. I mean, this was easily, I know I hand counted 8 while I was driving, and I think there were probably more that were coming from even further back behind them. So,
and to your appearance, these were like small fighter jets.
Something like a F-18 or maybe one of the new F-35s or something.
Okay, really cool. We were talking about airports. A couple F-18s came in to refuel here. Just a couple Navy planes, no big deal. But when those came in low over our neighborhood, way louder than any cargo plane or commercial jet that's ever been over here. It was intense.
I was so one incident that I only heard about, it didn't happen while I was on it, but Naval Air Station Meridian is actually about 3 hours south of where this all occurred at, and they train fighter pilots there. One of them flew low over the barracks on that base and shattered all of the windows out of every barracks on that base. And then the F-35, I was on one of the bases when they were first starting to kind of field it and test it at one of the exercises. And I remember thinking, I didn't really know, just like a huge amount. I had worked with the rotary wing a lot, and I knew the jets were loud. But when I think of a stealth jet, I'm thinking, oh, it's quiet. Those things are not quiet. We had to we had to walk a mile almost into work every day because we kind of got shipped out there away from our home base. We didn't have any of our vehicles really. And so we were walking back and forth from where we were staying at for work, and I would hear those things spooling up and getting ready to test, well out, and it was just shattering your eardrums nearly.
Yeah, wow. That was before we left Idaho. There was a big debate over bringing F-35s into Gowan Field, which is right there by the Boise airport. And people didn't want it. They shut that down. They petitioned them to not bring the F-35s in, even though I was like, no, they should do it. But evidently they are extremely loud. I had no clue. I mean, I figured it'd be loud, but holy moly.
You have to wear dual ear protection when you're out on the flight line with those jets around. You have to wear the inserts, and then you're supposed to wear over the head ones too. So
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense because they're very intense. But the aircraft, is the F-35 an extremely expensive and highly engineered piece of equipment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And its capabilities would probably, I could not imagine a zigzag pattern, a sharp turn like that. Still not part of what it does. But this is the most advanced jet that we're flying now. You think, these guys who do advanced things over at Skunk Works, they're coming up with planes that are going to fly 20, 30 years from now, like in their production. Like that's how advanced the research is, and the concepts that they're coming up with. So it's not something that a lot of folks think of when they hear about, what's going on in like Nevada. But there's plenty of books out there about the Skunk Works and their operations that people can look into. So just from an engineering perspective, it's fascinating. But when you add in the whole, military black budget sort of stuff, it gets very cloak and dagger along with it. So
yeah, I would say the thing I saw and the contrail that it left. It's either a technology hitherto I can't comprehend what it was, meaning it's extraterrestrial or such an advanced tech that it seems extraterrestrial, or very likely it could also be an unmanned aircraft, because if you did that zigzag motion, I don't know how you could keep the human body from getting tossed about in there at those speeds. So
or just turning into a puddle or losing consciousness. Yeah, so I love watching YouTube videos from guys who do get to take these military flights and pull 5-6 Gs, and a lot of them go out in the back seat. I mean, it's hard. It's something that takes training to do. And in at air shows, you can go to an air show, and some of these highly skilled flight teams, Thunderbirds, Blue Angels sort of things. These guys are trained. They can pull something like 7, 8 sometimes. In the G-forces, just because of their, advanced training. So, but for something as sharp as that, I could not picture it.
No, because it was like a stop and go motion, and to change direction that abruptly, it would jar you. So.
Oh yeah, it would almost throw you through the window, right? Yeah, I could imagine. That's another thing people don't think about is the negative G-force that would pull you out towards the canopy. So very interesting, very cool, Jared. Well, I think the only really thing to say is people can go check this out. It's on the UFO subreddit. It's under your username. Do you want to share your full Reddit username? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. It's Wolf by the Ears 398.
Really cool. So people can go check that out. And is it okay if we share that on like our Facebook page and some other places?
Yeah, by all means, man.
Most awesome. We will spread it around because it's a really cool sighting. It's a contrail. You're facing west, and it is in the evening, so the sun's kind of behind it, giving it a real nice fiery look. But on the other hand, this contrail that you're looking at is way wider than the ones surrounding it. Like, you can tell in the video that this is something different than the other planes that are around it.
Yeah, and you can't pick it up on the video. I'm glad you mentioned the sun setting with the fireball and all that back there. You can't pick it up on the video, but in real life, we could see like what almost looked like a metallic object in the fireball. But, it was just, you could see more detail with the eye than the camera picked up.
Yeah, there was definitely, there's something creating it, so there was definitely something out there. And would you say this metallic object, just from looking at it, did it appear to be smaller, larger than the jets, or was it too far away to tell?
It's hard to tell because I'm not an aerial observer or anything like that, so I'm not just like intuitively watching things to know, but judging by the one that went through, or it looked like it went through its contrail, the whole fireball itself looked easily 1.5 of the jets that were around it.
Okay, yeah, very cool. So something perhaps a little bit larger. That is very interesting. I think it'll be something that our listeners will definitely want to check out. Lee and I will continue to discuss this after the interview because I think, like I said, I've just heard a lot of stories about these escorted UFOs or UAPs. They're out there now, Jared. I don't know, just overall, what do you think about extraterrestrial hypotheses as opposed to, something man-made, and then we'll wrap it up for good?
I would say, on the subject of extraterrestrials, I would say it'd be foolish to think we're alone out here, But as far as do you want to know like what I think this specific object was?
Or just overall, what's your overall thoughts? Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising to me if it's advanced military tech. It's always been said we're a couple decades behind the military-industrial complex. So, and I've seen some pretty advanced drones. Again, that base I was on out in Nevada, they had drones there. Then I actually got to see them up close. A Predator is like much larger than you think it is, like from seeing it in media. Yes,
that's something not a lot of people realize. Yes.
So it's a big plane. I've seen the handheld Ravens the Army use, those drones and whatnot. And drone tech is growing every day, and that's just what we have in the civilian sector. So it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if that was like a very large unmanned aerial aircraft. But I think it's too early to tell, man. It's too early to tell.
Yeah, that's a good take on it, because something like extraterrestrials would require a lot of evidence. And you've worked in the military. I've talked to plenty of people who work in the military. There is a lot going on that none of us know about until it's out there, right?
Not even us. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Not even people who work in the government know about it until it's put into production. So I lean towards the advanced aircraft stuff myself. I mean, have you seen like the Air Force space plane that's supposed to be hypersonic?
I haven't.
It looks like a smaller version of the space shuttle. And it's up there flying for like months at a time. Near the edge of the atmosphere. And who knows, I mean, it's probably going like Mach 5 or something like that, just probably taking pictures of Russians or something like that. I don't even know. They won't. No one says what it does, but I assume.
Well, and then we've got SpaceX too, and the stuff they've been launching is, the stuff of science fiction to us. And when they launched the first big one they did, where it cut that blue swath across the sky and the whole country saw it nearly.
Yeah,
So.
well, and our first local sighting story was actually about Starlink satellites. So, I mean, these guys, like I said, we have come to a point technologically when it comes to space, when it comes to aeronautics, that common people, even military people who are used to this sort of thing, cannot fully describe some of the research that's going on unless they're let into the top secret halls of Area 51 or something like that. So yeah,
crazy
very
stuff.
interesting, my man. Well, thank you, Jared, for coming on. This fills our time. You did a great job. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And we'll be back with more stories from out there beyond terrestrial. Thank you. All right, we are back from that interview. Lee, what did you think?
Man, I thought it was pretty crazy. Listening to him talk, he sounds completely lucid. He sounds like he's not, first of all, making it up, and also like he doesn't want to look like the crazy guy, right? He's not out to get famous. He's not out to Bob Lazar it. He's not out to write a book. I don't know. Maybe one day he'll write a book, although it'd be a pretty short book. I watched a thing zigzag through the sky with some helicopters and planes around it. The end. But
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple story. We saw everything that there is to see in the video, and he explained the viewing conditions that he had a lot better in that interview. Jared does not seem like the sort of person who is out to over-publicize this. He seems like a pretty credible eyewitness with his experiences in the military. I think this is just one of the better stories where someone sees something weird in the sky that they can't explain, that could be human. I want to emphasize that. There's no saying that this is necessarily extraterrestrial, but it's definitely strange, and it deserves an explanation.
yeah, and one thing that I like about it, and about the way that he reacts to the situation, it's kind of a bit of a, that's weird. Maybe I'll do a little more research. And that is it, right? Like, he's not like trying to oversell it. It doesn't seem like he's just seeing something weird and he's like now like, oh my God, it's gotta be weird. No, he is very cool, calm, collected. He definitely portrays that he's been in the military, been around aircrafts, and he recognizes that, maybe it is our military. It's definitely something that he's never seen, but he didn't throw it out there and be like, it's definitely not of this earth, right? And I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good story. I think it's one that could be looked into. That probably should be looked into. And if anyone's, into this sort of research about finding flight paths and things like that, I've done some cursory looking, and I can't find any explanation for it. So, who knows? There's something that was going on that day. And all the information is out there. It's public. So, go ahead and debunk it. If it's something that is just, a regular contrail that might have looked funny in the sky, we need an explanation for it. If it was something natural, there was just something weird about that. And you can see it in the video. It's definitely a little bit different. So, yeah, let's go. Let's put it out there. Let's see what people think.
Yeah, I like it. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. I mean, short one this week, isn't it, Dan? Doesn't it feel short?
Yeah, it does, but there are a lot of these stories out there, Beyonders, and if anyone has any that they'd like to share, they can go ahead and do that on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. We're all over the place. So if you've seen something crazy like that you think people might want to see, go ahead and put it out there and we'll talk about it. And, we're non-judgmental. We're cool guys to talk to. So let's hear about it.
Yeah, I don't judge unless I'm in front of a microphone and talking about somebody who could probably kill me. So
Yeah, there you go. So, guys, there's a lot more stories out there. I guess you're just going to have to keep your eyes open for more from Beyond Terrestrial.
booyah!
Thank you for listening to Beyond Terrestrial, all three of y'all. If you're still a fan of this show, follow Beyond Terrestrial on social media and join the Beyonders Facebook group for even more strangeness. Links to everything, including previous episodes, are available at beyondterrestrial.com. That's the place to go for stickers, merch, show swag, and our Patreon. Patrons get exclusive access to ad-free shows, giveaways, and the unedited after-show show. Anything you give to the show goes straight to Funk Master B's bachelor pad, which for now is also where these giant turkeys record this show. This show was edited by Simple Equations Media with music by Mike Root. Dan and Lee will be back next Tuesday with more from Beyond Terrestrial.